guys, welcome to another episode of Unscripted Perspective. We apologize for for how long we've stayed without posting anything, man.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I've been trying to feed myself. Oh my days, man. I don't know, man. It's just been a couple of things that have worked together to prevent that. But
It's just been a hard.
yeah. I don't know, man. So I'm the host. Socrates the Bonso, and I have my co-host with me.
I go by the name Victory.
Yeah, so blunt.
I go by the name Victory.
I go by the name Victory, man.
Victory.
VIKTRY. Victory.
Why is it spelled like that, sir?
Huh?
Why is
Should be
it
said
spelled?
as VIK Victory.
Last day before yesterday, one of my guys like that, this poetry gods like that in Rivers State.
What is the poetry god again now,
Relax,
bro?
you know God understand, you don't do poetry.
Yeah.
It was like
Wait, no, what's the poetry god,
like someone
guy?
that is
Top boys
good
in
now.
poetry now.
In River State?
The top boys.
I don't know. Talk
So it was
about it.
like,
God.
yo, what is your stage now? I don't know whether I wanted to put me on or something.
Okay.
I was like, on the team.
Vicky.
And I said VIKTRY, sir.
Say Jagged, yeah, alright. Victory.
I don't say Victory now.
Yo, yeah, my
Like my
name is
name.
I guess his name is not cool, so yeah.
Ife.
It is still person name.
I used
Oh,
to
like, come on.
the boss.
Ife, yeah. Or like we call him on the online space, stranger.
Yes.
Don't call you
Can we move on actually?
Yeah,
People call me
so-
stranger now. Actually, they call me Jiggy Man though.
Yeah, people call
I was
you.
like-
I've never heard anybody call you Jiggy Man.
That was way back now. I'm saying.
I've never heard anybody call you Jiggy Man.
That's what I'm saying.
I've never heard anybody call you Jiggy Man. I've known you for like.
Bro,
I don't know you that
understand?
time. I don't know you that time now.
So how long was that?
I'm like, years ago.
How many years ago? Because I've known you for like 4 years.
When
now.
you were
Let's
still
think
in
about
school.
Eh?
Like
Oh,
when
like-
you were still in school.
When
Yeah.
was in school?
When you were still in school.
No, that was before you entered school safe now. Before I
No,
even
when
knew
you were still in secondary school.
Oh yeah, true
When I
actually.
finished secondary school.
When even know.
2018.
Do you
Hello.
get? Do you get?
That was like my first year now.
Yeah.
Anywho, yeah, stranger. Let's go.
Yeah. So we have a very what's the word? Very important. Yeah, it really is important. An important topic,
Oh man.
right? A topic that affects everybody or a larger portion of Nigeria.
I bet you as long as you're in Nigeria.
Yeah, so we are really talking about the inequality of wealth in Nigeria and the stagnant redistribution of wealth, right? The causes, why it's a problem, and try to see if we can think of a solution to it. I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. So to start with, what is wealth inequality? What does that mean? What does that phrase mean?
Am I taking it?
You can take it.
Okay. According to Meta
Meta
AI,
AI.
I don't use my head, guy. I don't have strength. Refers to the unequal distribution of wealth among individuals, households, or groups within a society. Yes.
Unequal distribution.
Right now,
of
so
wealth.
to start in next, do we think that there is, a wide inequality of distribution of wealth in Nigeria?
Obviously.
Do we think that?
Yeah.
Do
Nigeria.
you think so?
Yes.
Yeah, even in the world, but that's
Yeah.
we're talking about Nigeria
Yeah,
specifically.
Nigeria. I'm approving.
Do you think it's a problem?
Yes.
Victor, do you
I think it's a problem.
Why do you think it's a problem?
I think it's a problem because it affects people that okay, so this will counter what we had backstage.
Let's put that.
But-
That what?
So this will
Just go on,
counter
just go on.
this will counter
Just go on.
the fact that people put so much work and don't get the value that they give into their job. So I think because of that it will be much of an issue to an average working class person.
So why do you think there's a huge inequality of wealth in the country? Why do we think that is? If you,
Oh,
what do
well,
you think is the reason for the for the gap in
in the country,
yeah?
I think it's basically economical situation. I think it's just the economy.
household?
Although the economy has always been shit though, but then again,
This is something that this is one. I don't know why.
Then again-
Nigeria's economy has never been good.
okay, actually,
Is it like from way back?
actually,
Nigeria's economy has never
way
been
back,
from
good.
way
it's,
back.
it's actually better.
It has been better than it is now, right? But Nigeria's economy
Because I
has
heard
never
there was
been
a
good.
particular period
Like,
where
what I mean is
you
that
could
Nigeria's
actually
economy has never been
Go
on
out
an
of the
upward
country
trajectory.
on the weekend, just like go out on the weekend and come back. That same like go
No,
go
that's
out
what I'm saying,
Friday, come back
No, that's what I'm
Sunday.
saying. What
So
I'm
that
saying
was
is
like
that
a
what
good
I'm saying is
economy
that
then.
what I'm saying is that there have been better times, no
Yes,
doubt.
Yes.
But the Nigerian economy has never been on an upward trajectory.
No.
It has
It's
always
always
been
going
in
down. It's going
decline.
down. Like,
It's
it's
always
going
been
down.
steady decline. What
But
Buhari
yes.
and Tinubu are doing is just to fasten
Boost
the timeline.
basically.
Boosted
Boost
the
the depth
timeline.
of the economy. But yes,
Powerful.
the economy plays a role, and then again, there's also the way the rich people behave. Actually,
Are you
yeah.
acting all zesty as well? Bro? Are you gay?
But yes. The way the people in Nigeria actually, yeah, it's more of they hold resources and they hold a lot of opportunities. Yes. From minor, I don't say minor people, from like the grassroots,
Yeah, or the working class.
yeah, the working class people. That's why it's more of a huge gap now. Like we said before, Nigeria does not have a middle class anymore, so it's more of rich and poor.
Either rich or poor, married
Me like this now, I'm poor as hell, so trying to help the boy. I mean,
So yeah,
trying
yeah. And then okay, so how do you think we measure the inequality of wealth? How is it measured? The inequality of wealth,
like
wealth, the distribution of wealth. Rather, how do we measure the distribution of wealth in a country?
how do you measure it? Like
how do you mean?
How do you think we measure it? How do you determine
How can you tell
if it is
if
evenly
equally
distributed?
distributed?
Yeah, if it's equally distributed.
Well, are you taking it? Are you taking
no,
it?
take it.
Oh.
I'm not really an
I'll just take from what you said before. What you said. You said something
Okay,
about.
just so you know, they're taking what I said because we tried to record a video before now.
Oh yeah, and
But it didn't work.
Busted.
It busted, man. So this is like
But yeah.
this is like take two.
So what he said before, he said something about what's the question again? Sorry.
How do you
How do you
think you're-
something about giving everybody access to the basic amenities of life. He said something about education. Then what was the other point? Like I'm not saying when normal people, not rich people, normal people are able to access. And I think that would be a very good way to measure.
Yeah,
the
I think the
distribution of
easiest way
wealth.
to measure it would be how much assets the middle class is able to own
Yes.
physically. Right? Because an example of this would be take like 15 years ago. Man, I can't believe that 15 years ago now good days, man. But yeah, let's take 15 years ago, right? No, 15 years ago is not 2010. Yes,
2010.
Yeah. So 15 years ago, where people, where you first used to hear stories about how somebody managed to train their children and built a house by selling a car or being like a vulcanizer or something, something very something
menial
like
job.
yeah.
Do you know what I'm thinking now? Do you know why? When we were little, they tell you that you should your parents train you to school so that you get a good job and money because at then it was working.
Actually, that
Now you're out of school and
there's no
they're
job
telling you
nowhere
to start
to
up a business.
find a handwork.
Do you understand?
You know how you go
Now-
take say this country now
Country now
joke.
go.
You know you go take say this country now joke.
Uh,
As you come out of school, when you go NYSC camp, they go first give you skill acquisition. Me, you know
Don't be
say
lie,
me
don't
on
be
my
lie.
day.
Nah, the thing now, they say start up a
Don't
business.
first say me learn
Because
me
hold
say
on,
me
nothing
on my day,
come out.
bro.
They'll
No
tell you,
job.
Say that this country has no plans for you.
They'll tell you to start up a business. And majority of the people that are going to buy your business are people that are wealthy, that don't need it.
I don't understand what that means.
Do you understand me?
How would you
Like,
say that?
Explain
okay, let's say 10%. Is it up to 10% people that are wealthy in the country? Let's say
that. Yeah, there's
5%.
10% of people that.
Okay, let's say 10% of people that are
Like out of that
extremely
10%,
wealthy.
there's the 1% of the 1%. There's the 1% of the
Exactly.
1%.
And then we have loads of people that are extremely poor, right? Starting up businesses.
Everywhere.
Do you understand?
Mhm.
And how do the poor buy from the poor? It's the rich that are supposed to buy from
Not
us. isn't it?
necessarily, no.
That way they're supposed to be in
That's not the
middle
point.
class.
No, actually, no.
Do you
That's
understand?
why.
No,
That's
because
what the middle
it's
class
fact.
is for. It's not the
Exactly.
rich that's buying for it. It's the rich.
Because
That's why there's a
the
middle
rich
class.
can come
Because
down.
if-
The rich will buy goods as, let's say, real estate, let's say Lamborghinis, let's say.
You don't. That's a.
I'm just saying
No.
that
Listen.
people
listen.
who have wealth in Nigeria do not necessarily buy these minor things that everybody that you see on the
Why do
street.
they not buy them? Do they not eat? Won't they buy Maggi?
They do actually.
Won't they buy seasoning
How would
cube?
you just?
Won't they buy
What
spaghetti?
we just saying is that
How-
they buy it at
how do you
some
like, how do you-
exorbitant
How do you
prices.
spread it? How do you spread it?
spread it.
You're starting up a business and starting up a business, you're starting up a business. We have
Okay.
like 5,000 people having businesses.
Okay.
How do they reach, let's say, this one person out of
Okay,
100
spread
business?
their own
Yeah,
wealth.
spread that it
That's
touches
what we are still
everybody.
saying.
That's
That's
not
what we are
businesses
still
will
saying.
fail.
That's not-
Businesses will
We said that
suffer.
was why
That's not
there
the
is a
point.
middle class. There's
That's
supposed to
not
be
the-
a middle
that's not
class.
the point.
Is there a middle class in Nigeria?
No.
That's the point that we're talking
That's what we're
about.
trying to
That's what
tell
we're
you
all
now.
arguing. That's what we are talking
We're
about.
not arguing this.
Sorry, that's
Sorry.
Victor, we're not arguing this.
yeah. So fuck. How do we do this now?
What are we talking about?
No, we are talking about businesses like
And who
The
they
world-
Okay, start off.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
Now say
you have
listen.
okay.
Okay, so listen. This is the way I think it works, rather, right?
Mm.
Because I'm not exactly sure.
Mm.
I think most of the businesses and entrepreneurial, startups and practices are done by the middle class, not the poor. Right?
In a way,
Wealth
yeah,
is
actually.
supposed to trickle down, basically. Right? Wealth is basically supposed to trickle down. Right? The rich people, they still make money from the poor people. You see the poor people make money, right? Because the poor people buy, like, say people cannot afford to buy, who cannot afford to build a house, they have to pay rent. So who did they pay this rent to? The rich.
People that own the houses, obviously.
Right?
No, you,
No,
when
let
you
me,
say
let me
the
talk
rich,
finish. Let me talk
are you
finish.
talking about the rich or are you talking about the
Let me
extremely
Let
wealthy?
me talk finish now. Let me talk finish.
Okay.
When people who want to even start startups, entrepreneurial startups, right?
Mhm.
They borrow. Where do they borrow from? The
They are
bank,
rich uncles.
right? They borrow from. Let's say they want to borrow from the bank. Sir.
For the bank.
Let's say they want to borrow from the bank. When they borrow from the bank, who does the money? The profit the bank make. Who does it go to?
The owner of the bank.
Who are the owner of the bank? These rich people, right? Now, the way it's supposed to trickle down, right, is basically when the poor people now go to work, right? When they go to work, they get paid by what? The rich people. That's the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be like a cycle.
Yeah,
right?
true.
But now, people, and then as they earn more, they're able to save, buy houses, maybe buy like one small car for the entire family. But now, this with inflation is they do us bad for the country. But that's not the point. That's aside now, right? Now, the rich, right? During COVID-19, basically, the government had to just give out those people, right? During COVID-19, during the pandemic, the government had to basically give out money to people.
Relatives and
Yeah, and then people couldn't come out to spend money, basically,
Yes.
right? And then this money now still went to the rich. They now held excessive
They hoarded
amounts
cash in
of
their
money,
houses.
right? And then now after the pandemic, when our people are businesses back like that, what would they use the money to do? To buy assets, to buy houses, buy land, right? And then when they now buy these things and they hold these assets, the middle class is unable to buy these things, right? Because they now fix the price of these things and inflate the prices, basically. So the point is that you can tell that the rich is getting richer, basically, right? In fact, let me tell you, to be honest, right? If your parents are poor, you're most probably going to be poor. 95% of the time,
If you
you're going
live
to
in
be poor.
Nigeria, sure.
Yeah. Most of the time, you're going to be poor.
Geography really matters a lot in determining rich or poor.
Yeah.
Even in determining law, geography matters.
Our luck is just shit in Nigeria.
Yes.
Right. To be fair, even in foreign countries, right, there's still very huge gap in inequality. of
Exactly,
wealth.
but I don't know what I was
Even in
saying.
foreign countries,
You-
right?
For
if
you
you're-
to be able to know that a particular country is developing, every country is developing,
Yeah.
but for you to be able to know the significant development, you compare countries with countries. Then you can be able to say, okay, this
you
one
can't.
is
What
backwards.
country would you compare Nigeria to then?
That's the thing. You understand? Football.
Because you can't compare Nigeria to America. You can't compare
You
to
can't
America
compare.
and Nigeria to the
That's
USA.
Compared to
fine.
India now.
You can't compare to
Yeah,
India also.
India.
You know why I say you can't compare it to India? You know why you can't compare Nigeria to India, right? You know why? Because
One of our own.
India is
our
over
African
100
countries
years
will-
old, bro. Nigeria is what? How old is Nigeria?
60 something.
Right.
Yeah.
Nigeria. And how long have people been practicing democracy?
Like
Cons-
since Obasanjo, I think.
For 26 years. Nigeria has been practicing
Like
democracy now for
1998.
26 to 27 years now.
Yeah.
Starts to tell you that Nigeria is basically a baby. I can't go like that. But that's not the point. The point is that over time, the middle class have become squeezed out of existence, right? Before now, you could get, these stories that you hear.
They're like the wholesalers between the
It's supposed to
rich and
trickle
the
down,
poor.
but it doesn't trickle down now because these wealthy people, they lobby governments, right? The contracts,
stay
the
there now.
government contracts for the wealth to stay in them, and that is the problem. That's the main problem. And then, you know,
So are you saying that on no account can somebody start from the ground up?
that's not what I'm saying. Okay, the point is, at the moment in Nigeria, right, we are playing a game where 99% of people are losing, and we can't keep playing a game where 99%
We are
of
losing
us,
consciously or unconsciously.
consciously and unconsciously, really.
What's like if you want to give the stats unconsciously way higher than or what?
I don't know how to say
Because
that.
I see a lot of people like putting in efforts.
Okay, let me ask you a question. How many people do you know
Yeah.
that grew up poor? Listen, that grew up poor and are wealthy now, and they made their wealth legitimately. How many people do you know?
I know a couple.
How many?
I know a
I see.
couple.
Do you know up to 10?
I've not lived like I'm not old.
That's not the point. Do you know up to 10?
I'm not old now.
Do
How
you
would
know,
I
okay,
have- how
do you
would
know
I have-
up to 50 poor people?
Yeah, we know them.
You know,
Who says we know
you
them?
know up to 50.
We all
Yeah, answer
know
my
them.
question straight. Now
Yeah.
stop doing Jordan Peterson of
50.
Timu for here. Do you know up to 50 poor
Guy
people?
talk.
Do you know up to 50
Yeah.
poor people? Now, out of that 50 poor people that you know, the people who have, been able to build wealth. I'm
That's
not
what
talking
I'm
about living.
saying.
Listen, I'm not talking about living comfortable. Allow me to talk finish. I'm not talking about living comfortably. People who you know that have been able to build wealth legitimately, are they up to 10?
That's what I'm saying. That I've not lived long enough to be able to get to that point where I see somebody. When you say build, it takes years now, isn't it? 10, 15,
Is this boy
20.
understanding what I'm saying?
I don't understand.
You don't seem to understand
What
what
is
I'm saying.
saying? What trying to say? If I ask you, if you know
What I'm
10
saying in
people,
essence is
it does
that
not matter the
if
age. It
you're
does not matter
poor, if you grow up poor, you're most probably going to either be, you're just going to be slightly better
What
than
are
your
the
parents.
chances?
The chances is less than 10%. Let's be
when
honest
you
with
live
ourselves.
in Nigeria. Why do people are trying their hardest to actually leave the country?
It
Because
is
they
less
know.
than 10%, bro. People are generally only as rich as their parents are, or slightly richer than their parents are. That's the truth of the matter. Right? That's the truth of the matter.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so the point is, so let's talk about how we can bring equality. Can equality be a thing in Nigeria?
Well, equality,
Quality
what
of
do you
wealth.
mean?
Yeah, equality of
It
wealth.
can't be equality of wealth because, to be fair, right? People have already made money.
Yeah,
It's
you
not-
can't just
take out their
collect
wealth.
from there. That was
But the
basically
point is,
communism.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why
The point is
people
that
that did communism, they
we
were
can
not correct at
do
all.
better, right? And you know, you know, the most effective way for the rich people to keep the poor people poor, right? Because the rich people need us to be poor, basically, right? But the most effective way that they have learned to do this is by convincing poor people that other poor people are the reason they are poor,
Yes, actually.
right?
Pitting them against themselves.
And the form in
so-
which this takes place in Nigeria is tribalism.
Yeah, actually.
The problem in which this takes place in Nigeria is tribalism and religion. That's the form it takes place.
Yeah,
in Nigeria.
religion is like backing it up.
Yeah,
Religion are
and
like,
religion.
they push out.
Right? And by religion, right? Make them put that, okay, you should not help somebody because they are not from your tribe, or only people from your tribe deserve. To be fair, the easiest way to curtail the problem in this country, right? There's no meritocracy, and the easiest way to do that is to root out nepotism entirely. I should not have to basically, right? I shouldn't have to beg somebody to put me into a position, to beg somebody to get a job, or to be able to earn a living for myself. That's the point. I should be able to earn a living for myself.
You talk about nepotism. What about the population?
Population is not the problem.
What about if you have maybe a position and you have, let's say, 500 persons also wanting that position? It
Then
has to
give
be
it to
the
the most
best name.
qualified person.
So what happens to the 499?
Is that what happens in the country?
What happens to the 499? I'm just giving an instance. What if that is the case? Because it happens in the country too.
That's not what happens in the country.
It happens in the country.
How
Which
often does it
country?
happen in the country?
Like if there is a job opportunity, okay, I find I know that there is some sort of merit and connection to.
I didn't say
offices.
merit though. There's no merit. I said nepotism.
Sorry, to a particular office, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
To
But
get jobs.
okay, let's say even if you have, okay, let's say 10 connected men are bringing in their siblings for that same office. The best will have to.
10 connected men are not bringing. It's the most connected that gets the job.
That is hustle now. One could just carry and enter. There will be some sort of hustle
There's no
to the position.
Why
should there be hustle to the position?
Imagine you have money, as I do have money,
Yeah.
right? And we are going to meet this particular lady for the position that you want and me I want.
That's a different thing. That's like you trying to bid for a contract. That's different. What we are
And
saying
then,
is
in fact,
going
in
to
that,
get
even in that
employed.
situation,
You're a normal citizen in this country. You want to get employed.
no,
Why do
even
you
in
have
this
to-
situation,
That's-
even
that's
this
the
scenario
thing,
that you're
that's what
using,
I'm
he's
saying,
trying
that
to
population is
say
also
that, he's trying to say that even in nepotism, there's competition in nepotism, right? That's what he's
somewhat because of population.
saying. But now that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is that there should not be nepotism at all.
Okay, let's take away nepotism.
Yeah.
Let's talk about population.
Okay.
You understand?
Population.
So you're saying that another factor of the reason,
Yes,
one of the
yes.
reasons people are poor in Nigeria is because of population.
Can be population. I feel so.
Why? Explain that.
Why?
Explain it to me, please. Explain to me how population can impact. Is one of
Explain
the
to me
reasons
like a
Nigeria is poor.
layman.
Explain
Yeah,
to
to
me.
me.
Yeah,
But
like
I feel like
I
that.
want to understand.
explain it to me, please.
No. I want to
Explain it to me,
understand
please.
you.
Population. Nigeria, the jobs we have in Nigeria are few,
Okay.
and we have over 200. We don't have our statistics right, but I think we should be up to 230 million people now.
Okay.
You understand? And the majority of young people are more than the ones that are older and children.
Mhm.
Right? And we are all looking out for same jobs, same offices, and how do these offices share themselves into giving opportunities to everybody?
Okay. The way this works is, first off, right, entrepreneurship, right? But then I would not say that entrepreneurship is going to be the solution to Nigeria's problems, right? Because you cannot compete, right, with these big companies. Take for instance an example of this would be this Dangote and the Kudoyi saga. These niggas are frustrating this man. We can't go like they're frustrating him, right? Even if he too has frustrated other people out of business.
Exactly. Just he understands now. I got something.
Why do you say it like it is okay?
He understands. That's how it works. You just said.
That's how it works. It's not the
He
problem.
just
No,
said
that's how
something.
it works. It's not the
That's
problem.
not
The problem
how
is that
it
it
should
shouldn't
work.
work that
Exactly,
way.
and you know
That's
you
not how
said
it
something.
should
That's why I
work.
brought that point. You said he has also frustrated people.
That's what I'm saying. But you say this thing. You say this thing like say they
Stop
okay.
assuming for me.
No.
That's your problem. You assume a lot.
Ah,
He's just making statements. Not
It's
necessarily.
exactly.
It's not
no.
necessarily-
That's what I'm saying. The way he said it, right? It seemed like he was okay with it.
You assumed for me. That's your problem.
See, words, right? When you
assume
allow
for
to
me.
finish. When you
Moving
phrase
on,
words in
moving on. We're not getting time for all this one. Moving on. Let's go ahead.
Okay, so I think
Yeah.
I think that's the point, Sha.
Population.
Population,
Nepotism.
nepotism.
I don't think population is a problem.
I
Population
think
is
so.
not a problem.
I think so.
Population is not a
Why do you
problem.
think it's not a problem?
Why do you think it's not a problem?
Population is not a problem because, right, now, you see this population thing, this population talk now that
Why
I
is
see,
it not
this,
a
no,
problem?
this population talk that I see now, right, it now emphasizes that statement I made that the rich people have convinced the poor people that
Also.
other poor people are the reason they're poor.
Why is it not a
And now
problem?
it's not a problem because if, say, I'm able, me myself now, right, I earn a spot out of 500 people, let's just say 500 people, right? Let's say me my spot now, right? Me myself, I earn a spot in a job where I'm able to save more and start up something else. I will create job for other people. That's how that works. It is one.
So that
it is
itself
cause
is a
and
challenge.
event. What itself is a challenge.
That itself is a challenge.
What is
Why
a
do you
challenge?
think so?
Don't you see, like, if I'm able to raise myself up, create a business, then I can employ somebody.
Yeah.
So what stops me from creating a business to employ people?
Okay, depending on the employed.
Do you understand? Like,
Well,
What stops
each
this person
individual
from
have
creating a
their own
business?
drive, and
It
as we
is
all know,
because
not everybody
what
can
stop
be
who the-
rich.
the-
Not everybody
the
has
the
level
person
baby
that, the person that is supposed to.
Is it the nepo baby you're talking about?
No.
What stops who now?
What stops the employee himself
Yes,
from
from
getting his own
creating-
business
exactly.
and employing someone else? You get?
I don't understand. Explain.
Like, I have a business. I employed somebody. What exactly is stopping that my employee now
From
to
having
get
his own business
and
and
employing
creating
someone else
opportunities for
for
people,
other
just
people?
as you said.
It's not make sense.
That's a
now.
very deluded thing to say statement.
It does not make sense.
You know why that's very
Because
deluded.
first of all, if he had that money, why is he coming to
Start
come
up
and
a
work
business.
for
Why
me?
would he work for you?
Why is he coming to
So
work
what
for
will
me?
you do to sustain yourself in Nigeria now?
Huh?
You have to do
I
something
don't
at the end
understand.
of the
This
day.
boy
now.
is confusing me, guys.
How?
If
This
you
guy, you're
understand.
confusing me.
Wait,
No,
is
this
it
nigga is confusing me.
How
No,
is it
this
confusing?
guy is confusing me.
Where are you? Where are you?
Honestly, right?
Okay.
Where are you?
How is it
What don't you
confusing?
understand?
Because I say he said that right when somebody the population is a problem, and I think that's not a problem because right if people are able to grow themselves, right? People are able to earn sports into jobs, whatever. and then when I get promoted, somebody else is going to take that spot. And when I get promoted to the point where I can afford to create opportunities for other people, other people get employed, right? So it is a cause and effect sort of situation. And then now he's saying that what is now stopping the person I'm employing when I now create my own job from creating. Does that make sense? That's a very confusing.
There's no point there now.
That's a very useless statement to make.
I have to make but does it make sense to you now? If the person had that much,
Will they work for you?
will they come and start finding work for you?
So what would they have done?
What would
They
have
would
done?
start their
Like,
own
how?
business if they could.
Why are they hunting for a job
Let's move
if they actually have the money to do
no,
this?
let
Why are they
me-
hunting for a
Bro,
job?
let's move on.
No. I don't want to move on for this thing.
Why? What is your
I'm trying to make it make sense.
moving on? Yes.
Honestly, I'm trying to make it make sense, man.
So
So that,
Hmm?
so that should be.
what else?
So yeah, what
So
do you think would be
solutions,
solution to this
let's
problem?
say, so
Right, because we shouldn't
stopping
talk
the
about
inequality
it.
of wealth. What do you think
Yeah.
is the solution?
I think
A viable and
If what do you think
trusted.
is a viable solution? to
What?
this?
So inequality of wealth.
What are you doing? You tell me.
They banter people. They troll me.
Go on.
I would say, yeah, like I said before, trash nepotism. They're insulting me. I don't know why they're insulting
You
me.
do podcast. This is like the Jones for social
I think
media.
people should be
Show
paid.
off.
Go on.
I think
I need
people
somebody to
should
tell my
be-
comments.
I think people should be paid like
Paid how? What do you mean?
Okay, so
fair
so
enough that matches their qualification.
at this point in time, right? First of all, I feel like first of all, the government has systems have to change.
Yes.
Nepotism, the government has to come in. Actually, the government has to come in.
True.
Right, provide affordable housing for people. Right, provide affordable housing for because something that take two things that take the most out of people's salaries and people's money. Housing and health and feeding. Housing, healthcare, and feeding. That's like three things. Those are the most expensive things in the
Because
society.
if you're not healthy, how do you work?
Right? Those are the
Without
most
where to
expensive
live,
things
how
in
do
the
you
society.
work?
Right, and
Never chop. How do you work?
yeah, if the government provides affordable housing, right, then people now have that as something that they can do. Now that aside, trash nepotism,
Yeah.
that's a very huge. I don't know. I want to say
annoying.
tax the rich in Nigeria. I want to say tax the rich, but I'm not exactly sure how that would work. But I feel like taxing the rich a little bit more would work too,
Why?
because
Why?
the rich don't pay as much taxes as the poor people do.
That's because they are evading it.
That's the
different.
point. The tax. That's
That's
the point.
different. They have
No,
taxes already.
No, that's the point.
For their
Yeah,
own
that's what I'm
assumed
saying, that's what
income
I'm
or
saying,
whatever.
That's what I'm saying. The taxes should not be complicated where, right, somebody who has billions of naira.
Can't evade.
Let me give you an example. An example of this would be someone like Elon Musk. Like Elon Musk's taxable income last year was less than 10 billion.
Okay.
It was less than 10 billion. He made more than 10 billion last year. But his taxable income was less than 10 billion. The tax code, first of all, the tax
10
code.
billion
Yeah,
or
10
million.
billion. 10 billion. It was less than 10. I don't know exact amount, but
What
it
was
was
the
less than 10
what was
billion.
the general revenue you made?
I don't know, but it was less than 10 billion. He made a lot more than 10 billion.
So the tax code.
Yeah. The tax code was first of all written by the rich for the rich. That's what it has always been. The rich people have always wanted to evade tax.
Yeah.
Right here. Somebody said one time that the reason England is still a monarchy and the UK is still a monarchy and France is not anymore is because the English monarch realized that they had to like give more to the poor people, and then the French people refused to give more to the poor people, and that's the truth, right? Because I finished a podcast on the French Revolution recently, and yeah, it was taxes were a huge like
So that was why
factor in
in
the
the revolution.
blow up of the
Oh, wow,
revolution
okay.
because of the revolution. My point is, I want to say tax the rich, but I'm not exactly sure how that would work. I really don't know details to how how all these things would work. Get tax the rich basically, because the rich are able to evade taxes, but people on the street can't evade taxes.
How you
My
want
mother
to
is a
evade
sales
that?
star. My mother cannot evade taxes.
How you evade it?
Right,
They're already
because
cutting it from your salary. As
you
it's
get-
dropping, they are
they're
cutting it.
cutting it.
So it's not how you want to evade that now.
Yeah, that's the point. So those are possible solutions. I don't know, man.
Nepotism.
Yeah. I know the solution to
taxing
the
the
problem,
rich, but
but they'll pay me for that. I will not tell them.
better.
You know who said that? You know who said that? God, I'm sorry for saying this, but it was a pastor that said this.
I said open. Wow.
No, he didn't say they'll pay him, but you will not say it.
Right.
You know the policies to make
I think I know
Nigeria
that
better.
pastor.
So
We all
no
know
one
the
help
pastor.
us.
We all know the pastor. I have a problem.
So the guy no one help us.
Okay,
You know why
guys.
I'm not. You don't know the poor.
Nah. So many does they chop the French with the gospel.
Yeah, so yeah, we have come to the end of I feel like maybe we
Today's
should talk about pastors next.
episode. Actually, don't.
Yeah.
My uncle is a pastor, so I don't know.
My mother is the pastor, but we'll still talk about pastors.
Oh yeah, no, I don't mind
Don't
actually.
worry,
I don't
we
mind.
decide that later. So yeah, we've come to the end of today's episode. Rich, you do your boys and girls thing.
Okay,
Yeah,
guys.
boys and girls.
Please do well to like, do well to
share,
subscribe.
Yeah.
I feel like we would have to
Share,
visit this some other time.
Comment.
Up to
Maybe,
now, yeah.
definitely.
Like in this particular topic, with a lot more details.
Mm,
Yeah,
true,
probably have
true,
to
true,
revisit
true.
this. Yeah.
So
I'll
when
be
next
like
we
part
meet,
two.
it's all peace and love.
So peace and love, George boy.
Exactly.
George boy, we know we